in our last sitting, we got a message which was that if the mind-body system endeavors to be one with the one, then by definition everything is automatically included in it. And that was the hymn 76, which basically said, Sabbhe thok parapate je ave ekhat. Everything in wholesale, Sabbhe thok, is literally, you will get everything in wholesale provided, je ave ekhat, provided you are one with one. So when we were looking at it last week, we were basically trying to understand that we have fallen into the trap of asking for individual gifts from the higher sources. We keep on begging for better life, better health, better wealth, and similar things. We keep on praying for it, we can keep on seeking. And Gurbani basically says those efforts are really useless, they are unproductive, simply because all of those things are already available to you, given to you according to your choices that you have made so far. We try to characterize it in a very different way. We say, well, that's my destiny, that's my kismet, that's my karma, that's why it is happening to me. And the Gurbani says, no, it isn't the destiny, it isn't the karma, it is not the bhagya, it is the choices, it's the result of the choices. Whatever seed is sown, we now have to reap the fruit for it. And we know there is always a gap between the seed and the fruit. So Gurbani says, what you are reaping right now is the result of what you had made choices in the past. This life or previous life or any other life is irrelevant to the fact. But understand, it is a result of your choices. So now, if you don't like the fruit that is coming in front of you, the result that you are seeing, you can change it now. You have that possibility. Don't dwell on what has happened so far. Then what you should do, say, you start now. And the message was, Mere man ekas syon chit laye, ekas bin sab dhanda hai, sab mithya moh maye. Understand that. Anything other than that one, the ultimate creative energy, everything will have positive and negative. Dhanda hai. Tanda, which tanda means it is a type of a work which has both plus and minus. So if you are going to get there, how would you get there? And that's where the hymn 77 starts. They say you can get there. Every one of us can get there. It's not the exclusive territory of any one individual. It's not meant for a few chosen one. That is a misunderstanding. Everyone has that possibility. So what should be done? So the first line comes, Soee Dhiaey Jiarhey sir saha path saha, tis hi ki kar asman jiska sab ve saha, sab seyan pa chhad ke gur ki charni pa. That is the process, which is Soee Dhiaey Jiarhey. Focus on that. dhyan, get to that stage of where the total focus remains on the single energy. What energy? What type of energy? What is its qualification? And the qualification is given right way, which is jiska sab ve saho, sir saha pat saho. These are the characteristics. Sir saha pat saho. Literally translated, Patsha means the king of kings. But that's a word picture. Focus on the one which is greater than the greatest. Focus on the one which has no parallel. Focus on the one who has absolutely no competitor. The one who is completely unique. One and the only one. And therein lies our basic fault, basic misunderstanding. We have fallen in the habit of associating that one with the object of our appreciation. Anybody that to us appeals, that becomes the godliness for us. And that's how all of the multitude of religions have started. Focusing on a Rama or a Krishna or a Jesus or a Muhammad or a Moses or Buddha or Guru Nanak or anything else. All of these, even though they have never ever asked us to focus on them, we say, well, that must be their humility. They are so humble, they don't want to say it. No, that is really not the fact of life. A Brahmajnani can never have false humility. Because it will be if they really inside feel that they should be worshipped, but from the outside they don't say it, they are no longer Brahmajnanis. That's the whole test. They are exactly the same from within and without. If there is any difference, if there is any gap, if there is any disconnect, then you know it is a false saint. It's a false Brahmajnani. So Gurbani says, why do you want to fall in that trap? Just forget everyone. Bar exception, none. Don't say, well, don't focus on Buddha, but you can focus on Nanak. Don't say that. No. Only focus on the one and the only one, which is Shirsaha Patshaha. Focus on that. Greater than the greatest. The only one. That is why in our journey we have been emphasizing this fact again and again. Please pick a word that only reminds you of the ultimate creative energy. Do not associate the mind-body system with a thought or with a word which will remind you of a story, which will remind you of a history, which will remind you of a background. Because that is not going to help you to go on that path. And that is a clear-cut message right in the first line saying, Soee Dhiaey Jiarhey Sir Saha Patshaha. Focus only that one. Why? What's wrong with the others? So, well, nothing is wrong with the others except they will limit you because they themselves are limited. You focus on the one, tis hi ki kar aas man jiska sabs vesaha. You just focus on the one who actually is the creator of everyone. Vesaha, jida sareyan da jide utte bharosa hai. That one on who everyone is dependent. You just go there. if you go to someone who's dependent on someone else, then you are also limited by the same. So why go to a mediator? That's why this metaphor is so useful, that when Sheikh Farid was asked to go to the king and ask him to open up the whole of the treasury because the people are starving and there is no rain, and he should give the food away freely. And Farid went there, came back in the evening, and the villagers asked, "Did you talk to the king?" And he said, "No." "Well, you went there?" "Yeah, but I didn't talk to him." "Well, why not?" He said, "While I was walking by, I saw through the window that the king was sitting with his hands folded up and saying, 'Oh God, make sure that my treasuries never get empty.'" And he says, "I thought that if he is asking his treasury from someone else, why shouldn't I ask the same thing from him rather than asking to the king? If the king is begging from somebody, why should we be asking from the king? I'm going to ask from the same person who's giving the king also." And that is the message to a Sikh. Do not ever get trapped by the middleman. That is the reason why in this scripture there has not been a single human called Guru or God. We say this is Guru Nanak, this is Guru Angad, this is Guru Amar Das. What are the Gurus calling themselves? Mahal, which literally translated means the wife. Mahal, the husband of us all. Mahla Pehla, Mahla Duja, Mahla Tija, Mahla Chautha, Mahla Panjwa, Mahla Nawa. There is not a single Guru. We insist that they are Gurus. They don't. None of the masters called their masters as Gurus. What did they call them? Vachole, mediators. They are just the messengers. They are just mediator. The creative energy sends a mediator to pass on a message. And once the message is gone, the job is done. Have we ever given any importance to the postman who brings the letter from home? He's just a deliverer, isn't he? He drops the message and he goes home. Which is what this is. A message from the beyond. And the message has been delivered. Our problem is we are not paying attention to the message, but we are talking about the messenger a hell of a lot. Stories after stories and books after books and literature after literature, we are writing, discussing and publicizing. What about the messengers? Hey, what's the message? Oh, who the hell cares? What a tragedy. And Gurbani emphasizes that. It says, don't you go after anything else other than tis hi ki kar asman jiska sabs vesaha. Everybody is dependent on him. So, go directly there. Oh, by the way, don't try to get smart. Don't become a wise aleck. Sab siyanpa chhad ke. Where does this come from? This comes from what we have grown up with, what we have heard, what we have read, what we have learned. The nurturing part of our growing up has literally taken over the nature part of our growing up. Think about it. every child, whenever the child wants to behave according to the nature, what do? We stop him. Say, that's not how to do it. I used to get surprised, and I'm not anymore, but now it makes sense to me. A mother will be slapping the child and say, don't cry. So now he's hurting, so he's crying, another slap comes, and I told you don't cry. And I'm standing there scratching my head and say, now what kind of order is this? चपेड़ मारी जा रही है, बच्चे के गल ते निशान पै रहे हैं, तो चपेड़ साहब के मारी को रो रहे हैं. He's getting beaten only because he's crying. Those are the kind of instructions we give. But the child is angry. It's not good to be angry. So what does he do? Feeling anger is a natural reaction of being unhappy. So what do we teach? We teach him the suppression of anger. We teach him what we call social lies. The child is hungry. The guests are sitting. He wants to eat. No, don't touch that. That's for the guests. Look at our entire upbringing is counter to the nature. The nurturing has overpowered it. Now, if that was necessary for his protection or her protection, the child wants to run across the street, and the mother holds the hand and says, don't run across the street alone. Wow, okay, it's for protection. Do we ever go back and say, I told you to not to do this because of this, but now you don't need that. Now you can use your own judgment. Express it the way you want to express it. And that's what has happened to us. That's where this sab-syanpa comes. The intellect. Syanapa means intellect. The intellect has come to us from the nurture part of it. And Gurbani says, you have to put it aside. You have to suspend that. On the path of spirituality, nothing that you have heard, learned or read would be useful. None. If anything, it may be a hindrance on the way rather than a helping hand, because it will create unnecessary questions, unnecessary doubts, unnecessary arguments. Well, how do you know that's going to happen? Can you prove it? Well, I went to so and so and he or she did not agree with that. Where is that argument coming from? That's coming from that Sayana. And Gurbani says, if you want to be a spiritual being, not a religious being, if you want to be a spiritual being, you are going to have to suspend all of that belief systems. All that you have learned, all that you have gathered, all that you have collected, you have to suspend it. Because that was a tool required to help you in a certain aspect of your life. If the parents taught you to tell a lie, that might have been a social necessity at a certain point. It isn't a necessity in the world of spiritualism. If they told you to dress certain way, eat certain way, drink certain way, live certain way, that might have been a social structure so that you don't stand out as an oddball. It is not required in the path of spirituality. So you're going to have to suspend it, which is the most difficult part for us. ਇਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਨੂੰ ਛੱਡ ਕੇ ਇੱਕ ਪਾਸੇ ਇਹ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ. That's a big hurdle. And Gurbani will challenge you again and again. If you cannot do that, you can play the game, but you will never become the player. will be just a hobby. It will never get inside you. So what you should do, sab siyanpa chhad ke gur ki charani pa. You're going to have to surrender your intellect to the one who has gone ahead of you. If you do that, then this becomes the possibility, which is man mere sukh sahaj seti japana. See, we're back to japana. Sahaj marg. It's not a hatha yoga. Don't make it a hatha yoga and torture your mind-body system. It says no. Stay in the equilibrium of mind-body and get into the japana, get into the jap, get into the chanting. Of what? Now. Take that word and practice so much that you get to a stage where आठ पहर प्रभ त्याए तू गुण गोविंद नित गाओ. आठ पहर means day and night. That's four. This is the good old days of Indian system of the time. Visve chasya kadiyan pehran thiti vari ma hoa. That's the time scale. The time scale for Indian continent at that time was that 15 times movement of the eyebrow was considered one visa. 15 times. That's the minimum measure was fluttering of the eye. 15 times, that's one visa. 15 times vise, one chasa, 60 chase, one pal, and then kadhi, and then साढ़े सात कड़ियाँ एक पल and आठ पल then around. That's how the time scale was. So what is being said here? आठ पैर प्रभु आए तो day you get on that path and practice so much that you get to a stage where day and night it becomes part of your being. So, and it seems to us an impossibility. How can you do that? We have so many other things to do. Is Guru asking us something totally impossible? Answer is absolutely not. Because what is being said here is not that you stop everything. What is being said is आठ पहर प्रभ त्याए तू. Meaning thereby, your mind-body system, your karmendriya, your hands and your legs and your eyes and your mouth can be doing and saying something, but the thought process is in a constant link with that energy. It's not stopping you from eating, drinking, sleeping and working. But it is asking you that while you are doing that, the mind-body system's attention should be focused on that. That is the level of meditation that's required. So make sure that you do this. What? Tiski sarni paramana jis jevad avar na koe. Reminder. And emphasis again. Do not ever go for guidance. Do not ever seek the counsel of those who have their self-interest in mind. Seek the counsel of that one who is unique. Jis jevad avar na koe. That means you cannot compare that with anything. That is should be your focus. The one should have absolutely no competitor. Today, if we go to a Kaji, a Mullah will find that a Brahman is a competitor of that. If we go to a Brahman, we'll find that a Jnani is a competitor of that. And so on and so forth. Say, don't go to these people. Why? Because they are only going to ask you to follow us. Others are wrong. So instead of helping you to raise your consciousness to a higher status, they are actually going to make you become discriminatory rather than all-inclusive. So who would have asked you to become all-inclusive? Only the one who is himself or herself all-inclusive, I will say. And how do you know that they are all-inclusive or not? They will say, go directly to that. That's the beauty of this scripture. It never ever says anything else other than saying, go directly to that. Don't stop anywhere in the middle. इच्छा पूरक सर्व सुख दाता हर जाके वस है कामधेन सो ऐसा हर ध्याये मेरे जियरे ताओ सर्व सुख पावे मेरे मन जप मन सतनाम सदा सतनाम हलत पलत मुख उज्जवल होई है। की किया जा रहा है? Look at the beauty of it. It says, इच्छा पूरक सर्व सुख दाता हर जाके वस है कामधेन. Now kamadhena, dhen means cow. Kam means the desire. A mythical animal from whom whatever you desire, she makes it possible. So Gurbani questions. Beautiful metaphor. He says, now you are going to go to that cow. Why don't you go to the person who made the cow? Why go to the cow? Jaake vasa hai kamadhena. The one who made it, go directly to him. And that's what is being said here. Tiski sarni paramana jis jevad avarna koe jis samarit sukh hoye ghana dukh darad na mule hoye. Once you have gotten that inside your mind-body system, that this concept is actually asking me to detach from everything else and attach with that ultimate energy, then what is the possibility? Jis simrat sukh hoye gana. Now you are on the path of the ultimate bliss. And slowly you will find dukh darad na mule hoye. Mule, mool, bilkul nahi. That you will get away from that negative energy permanently. Sada sada kar chakari prabh sahib sacha soy. So it is an important term here, chakari. In Sikhism, the relationship with the Creator is of slave and a master. Chakra का मतलब है नौकर. Just as in other religions, in Christianity the relationship is between father and a son. Relationship in Sufism is between two lovers. Relationship in Sikhism is the master and the slave. Why is this relationship better than any other? Sikhism is trying to give a signal that every other relationship would help or would support the survival of the ego. If it's a relationship of father and a son, son will grow someday and become equal to the father. If it's a relationship between the lovers, lovers will demand equality. The love between too high and too low is not possible. They have to be at a certain equal level. But this relationship, which is of a owner and a slave, there is no possibility of ego. Slave has no ego. The master contains everything, controls everything. So Gurbani teaches the Sikh, develop that relationship between you and the ultimate Creator. That's why it is saying sada sada kar chakari. Forever remain in a slave format in that mindset, your paradigm, your notion should always be what? Prabh Sahib. Sahib means the master, Chakar means the slave. That he is the Sahib, main gulam haan. He is the Sacha, I am not. Sacha means he is forever lasting and I am mortal. If you want to go on that path, then Gurbani says, one thing will help you, one tool will help you, which is, Shad Sangat Hoye Nirmala, Katiye Jam Ki Paas, Sukhdata Bhai Bhanjano, Tis Aage Kar Ardas, Meher Kare Jis Meherwan Ta Karaj Aave Ras. Shad Sangat Hoye Nirmala. The company of those who have gone ahead of you, if you constantly seek it and keep it, they will encourage you and help you on that path. That's why in Sikhism, Sangat or the company is very much stressed as compared to solitude and being alone in a desert or in a jungle or on a hill or whatever. Gurbani says, you do not want to be an ascetic and run away. Actually, stay within the world, but seek the company of those. That's the key. Seek the company, the right company. The company that is actually helping you on that path. Not only that company can help you, if the company itself is going that way, right? So that's the emphasis. Bin bhaga sat sang na labhay, when sangat mal pari jay jiyo. Gurbani very clearly states, consider itself to be a grace and a blessing of the ultimate creator that you have been introduced, you have been brought into a company of those who are themselves desirous of the state that you are seeking also. That in itself is a great benediction from the higher sources. So seek that, cultivate that, encourage that. Sad Sangata Hoye Nirmala, the possibility of you getting purer and purer inside. Katiye Jam Ki Fas. Jam means the not Jamdut. Jam means the bondage of time and space. Every human body is in bondage of time and space. You can transcend that by going on that path. So what should you do? Once you are in that company, then Sukhdata Bhai Bhanjano Tis Aage Kar Ardas. Then in that company together, say a prayer. Now, we need to take a pause here. Prayer of what? We all pray, day and night. Whole of the earth is praying and praying. And we have a list of things that want to be done, and we have a list of things that should not be done. That's not a prayer of a Sikh. What is the prayer of a Sikh? The definition comes in the next line. Meher kare jis meherwan ta karaj aave ras. That's the prayer. Grace me with that capability that for the purpose that I have taken this life, for what I have come here, I can complete that work. Karaj aave ras. O kam pura ho jaye. Keda jidali mein aaya. I have taken a human body form for one purpose and only one purpose according to Sikhism. And that is to cut the cycle of life and death. To transcend it forever. To never to have to repeat it again. That is the courage that I have chosen. That's what I wanted to do here. It is my misfortune, my ignorance, that I decided to play around and waste the life in totally meaningless sensual pursuits. But that's not why I was here. So what is the prayer? O ardas kar kedi, meher kare jis meherwan ta karaj aave ras. The definition of the ardas is right there. Stop praying anything else. Stop asking for anything else. Stop complaining about anything else. Just seek that one thing which should help you to complete the purpose for which this carnation has been given to you. And understand, if you fall into the trap of just counting and discussing and analyzing what his creation is, what his nature is, you're going to waste time and you're going to waste life. Bahoto vakhaniye uche ucho ucha tha. Vakhaniye means to explain. Katha karne, vakhyan karna. Ever since the advent of mankind, people have been trying to describe the Creator and the creation and have yet to complete that task. Why? Ucha tha. A part is trying to perceive the whole and then describe it. An impossible task. It cannot be done. It will not be done. But the human arrogance is such. It doesn't give up. I was talking to one of the scientists who considers himself to be really the pioneer. And he looked at me and said, well, yeah, I hear you. Yeah, till today we don't have it, but look how much we didn't know before and where we have come. Someday we'll find it. We'll get to know it. We'll be able to describe it. We have not given up on it yet. Well, why not? Well, look. From the Stone Age to the Space Age, how much of the nature's mysteries we have resolved? Science has uncovered how much. So why should we lose heart that we would not find the limit? We would not find where it is, what is the end boundary. And why would not we find when it started? Okay, we don't have the tools today. Someday we'll get it. It may not be in our lifetimes. And I had to be quiet. Say, okay. That's how you feel. Because for one moment, the human mind-body system doesn't step back and say, wait a minute. The strongest possible telescope available to the mankind, touching the boundaries of the cosmos, is saying that the whole of the universe is still expanding, still growing, still getting bigger and bigger. Not only that, as it is expanding, its speed is increasing. And they are hoping that someday it will go so far that it will start collapsing backward. But once that process starts, there will be no end to till it collapses into itself. Okay, now you yourself have said that that is the possibility. It's like a rubber ball thrown. It keeps on stretching and stretching, and then it starts coming backward till it crashes. Now, if that's your model, how would you know when it started and where it's beginning? Because you are going to finish with it. And the boundary is billions of light years. Doesn't it tell you to see how insignificant your thinking is? The answer is no. We are not going to give up. That is the arrogance of a human mind-body system. For a mystic, it's not even a point of this conversation. It's the gall bhi nahi karni. Time bhi waste nahi karna. Why bother? Why? Because mystics ask a very simple question. Let's assume for a minute that with the help of the science, you discover the creation started on such and such moment and it's going to end on such and such moment, and this was the process that it started with. Alright, so we give you that information. Now tell me what you're going to do with it. Okay, you write in the books, Earth started so many billions of years ago. Okay, fine. It went through these cycles. Okay. Whole thing will end by so and so. Okay. It is only so many billions, trillions, light years big. Okay, fine. Document it. Now tell me what you're going to do with it. Now what? If it's not going to help you evolve spiritually and finish the task that you came on, what good is that knowledge? What good is that information? So why are you hankering after it? So stop. Do what? Varna, chehna, bahara, कीमत कह न सको. You are not going to be able to describe it at all. Accept that fact. And even if you can, it is completely useless endeavor. This whole effort is almost childlike. Give up. Do something which wouldn't do what? In the last line, Guru says, Nanak kau prabh maya kar sach devo apna now. Don't you think this is much better than ask him, pray to him, give me that blessing which brings me closer to you? Will help me to get part of you, which helps me to experience you, which helps me to taste you, rather than which helps me to find out how big you are. What good that knowledge is? Instead, seek that blessing which Nanak Krau Papa Maya Kar. Maya is another word for Daya, means have pity on me. Please grace me. Give me that prasad, give me that benediction, which Sachadevo Apana now, so that I can experience the ultimate truthfulness of your existence. Because I know I am part of you, but that's only an intellectual knowledge. I want to experience it. I want to feel it. Ask any child at 2-3 years old. If he's standing right there, you say, well, you are my son, I love you, so I want to hold it. I want to experience that love. So he comes and sits in your lap. If you say, hello son, he raises his arms and pick me up. Have you ever noticed? Why does a child do that? Whenever you express your affection for a child, what does the child want? Pick me and hold me. He wants to experience that closeness, which is what human mind-body system should be asking for. I do not want to know about you. I want to be with you. Knowing about you does nothing to me. Other than that, I can sit among friends and argue, maybe win a discussion point somewhere. So what? I'm still empty of your love. The only way I can experience love is if you hold me, if you get closer to me. Let me become part of you. Ask that. Nanak kau prabh maya kar sach devo apna now. And those who have said that, those who have sought that, what happened to them? Next hymn. Naam Dhiaey so sukhi tis mukh ujjal hoy. They have known the real Sat Chit Anand. They have known the real blissfulness. They have known the real Sukha. Those who have gone on that path. And remember, Pure gurte paaye pargad sabni loe. This is not possible with the help of pseudo-intellectuals and half-baked theories and so-called sadhus and gyanis and pracharaks. It's not going to happen. Who makes it possible? Pure gurte paaye. The one who has gone ahead of you and actually tasted it. Actually known it. Once that happens, if you get to that, Sadh Sangat ke ghar vasai eko sacha soy. He is in all, everywhere. That true being is part of the total creation. So, oh my mind, mere man, har har naam Dhiaey. You also get started on that path. And if you do, Naam Sahai Sada Sang Age Lai Chadai, then you become worthy of the ultimate freedom. Age Lai Chadai. Chadauna matlab rehai, jail tum pata hai. Which jail? The mind-body system trapping. You will be freed from the bondage of that. But are you really doing that? No, this is what you are doing. Which is, Dunya kiyan badiyaiyan. The whole effort of the life is that the world, the society, should absolutely shower me with the biggest possible compliments. They should praise me so much. Everybody should say, she is so good. They're the only angel on earth. Okay, fine. Let's say that they all say that you're so good. So what? Dunya kiyan badiyaiyan, kamne aave kam. Tell me, what good is that going to do? If a human is telling another human, you are great, how significant is that? Don't we say that so that somebody else can say in the back that yes, right? Don't we normally do that so that the other can say, no, you are not bad yourself. You know, you're okay. You're great too. And then they'll say, oh, so two great minds think alike. Because a thief is going to have to compliment another thief. Isn't it? Have you ever seen and known a thief calling another thief a thief? वो दोनों ब्रह्म ज्ञानी थे. And that's why the praise of another human being has no significance. Because, as they say, consider the source. Where it's coming from. You got to pay attention to that. Now, if the one who has gone ahead of you, and he taps your back and says, Bete, God bless you, stay on it. Now that's worth something. अगर एक प्यो ने एक पुत्र को कहता तो बहुत चंगा है, so what great is that? Right? Because if father doesn't tell his son that you are great, somebody can turn around and say, well, you didn't raise a great son. So that people can say, I am a great father, I'm going to say, my son is really very great. Because in reverse, I am expecting the others to tell me, I'm a great father, raising a great son. So whether my son is a thief or a lazy bum, I'm still going to say, he's very great. Because I can't afford to be called not great. Hence, Gurbani says, forget all the comparisons and everything. Just take one golden principle. Dunya kiya vadiyaiyan kavane aave kam. If the world is praising you, it is a completely useless activity. Don't put too much stock in it. Not any stock in it. It is not in the world of spirituality. Now in the outer world it may be something. Your boss says, great job, here is a $10 an hour more. That's totally different. But on the path of spirituality, if somebody is praising you, that actually can become a damaging thing for you. Because you may end up getting into the trap of false ego. Hey, I'm great. See, so many people are coming to listen to me every Friday. I must be great. It is poison to the soul. It's a food for the ego. So dunya da changa kehna, don't seek it, don't believe it. Don't ask for it. And when given, take with a lot of grain of salt. Why? Because it's not going to be helpful. It may actually damage. How? Next line. Maya ka rang sab fika jato binis nidhan. Everything that has to do with the outer world is fika, tasteless. And not only that, jato binis. It is all mortal, it's destructible, it is short-lived. Only 2 years ago, this country put a president at the pedestal with 85% of the votes. And today it's the same people who can't wait to get him out of the office. The same people. The things change. It's so short-lived. People's comments and compliments and likes and dislikes are so temporary. It doesn't matter what the relationship. Think about it. Any relationship that we can think about, the holiest possible relationship is, what is the one that we don't want to ever touch? It's between a mother and a child. Is it not? What is the most sacred one? It's mother and a child. What happens to if the child does not live the life the way mother wants to? How long the mother can sustain the same warmth and bond and not criticize or find faults or condemn her own child? How long it takes? That's the holiest possible thing. And Gurbani says that is the problem with the compliments from the outer world. What it is? Maya ka rang sab phika jato binis nidhan. Understand that it is going to go away. It will change. It will not remain the same forever. Impossible. You can rest assured that this is going to be impacted because it is tied with Maya, the illusory world. So, what should we do? So, here is the antidote to all those problems. Jaake hirde har vase so sura paradhan. Rather than seeking the compliments and the praise from the outer world, turn inward. Jaake hirde, turn inside. Apne dil wal dekhna shuru kar. And do what? Har vase. Make sure that that creative energy can actually manifest. Vasana hunda to go and stay forever. ਘਰ ਵਸ ਗਿਆ। Means now permanently